It all the time, and we hear it. And I was speaking yesterday from a leader from the Middle East in the Gulf region, who just said, you know, a year ago we would have followed you. 2 years ago we would have followed you. Now we don't have a partner in the United States. We don't trust you. It echoed what we've been hearing and what you've been hearing for 3-4 years. Why won't this president get, and this isn't about Barack Obama, this is about the one commander-in-chief that the United States of America has at this time of crisis. Why won't he get his hands dirty and start building a coalition?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, the most consequential thing he did, in a sense, didn't do in his presidency was Syria. I think the articulation of the red lines, the lack of follow-through is still having reverberations. All that, and the red lines, the use of chemical weapons, still having reverberations. Secondly, I think a big part of his foreign policy is not to overcommit to the Middle East. So I think there's been a reluctance all along about any sort of a large footprint, as he would put it, and all that. Thirdly, assembling a coalition, I will say this, is easier said than done. A lot of the Arab countries are willing to talk a better game than they're willing to play.
But Richard, you know, you were there. You saw what George H.W. Bush did in 1991. It's work. He actually has to work. He actually has to invest his reputation. He actually has to break a sweat. He actually has to get uncomfortable. Is this president willing to do that?
It's not just a diplomatic effort. We have to be, I think what you essentially have to do is say, if you're willing to do X, Y, and Z, we will do A, B, and C. A lot of people will not stick their necks out and associate with us unless they are confident that we are going to be there in sufficient scale that it's safe to associate with us. It's a little bit of what goes first, but until this administration is willing to make certain scale of commitments, I don't think we're going to get the commitments from the locals.
You know, what's fascinating, Mark, is this leader that I spoke with yesterday said, we've never dealt with anybody like him before. Everybody else talks, negotiates, compromises. He stakes out a position, he delivers a speech, and he just sits there. And you're expected to come to him. He said nobody trusts him, nobody's going to deal with him, because he just doesn't want to deal with us in good faith. And we've heard that 4-5 years now, from the Middle East especially.
What I fantasize about is convening a focus group of world leaders and Democratic and Republican senators and asking them what they think of the president's leadership style, because it's the exact same view.
You hear it from Democratic senators, and you have for 7 years that you hear from world leaders.
All right, coming up.